my goodness gracious, everybody. It is time for another episode of your favorite podcast, The Score. This is the podcast where we talk about pop culture and opera and classical music from the perspective of three Black queer arts administrators. As always, I am your host, Rocky Jones, and I'm here with my fabulous, splendid, wonderful co-hosts. First and foremost, the beautiful, luminous, intelligent Paige Reynolds, Iyawo Inwale. Hello, how are you?
Hey.
So you are on the road again this week. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. How was your trip? Where did you go?
Yeah, I've been a Rolling Stone. I've been yeah, took a great cross-country road trip and went to Atlanta and stopped in Indianapolis on the way there and on the way back. And I drove over to South Carolina to see my auntie.
Aww.
And yeah, I had a
How's
good weekend with my
auntie?
spiritual house. Auntie's house is lovely as always. This particular auntie has like real Angela Bassett energy.
Oh,
like yes, she is gorgeous, melanated, wears her hair like very short, always has my whole life. And it's like, you know, like salt and pepper situation going on. And she's just so kind. And I think she's vegan and her skin is glowing and she always smells good and her house always smells good and there's everywhere.
Okay.
And so yeah, she collects African art and she cross stitches and her beautiful cross stitched African art is all over the house and it's an oasis.
Wow. Wow. That sounds
She's
amazing.
Auntie Goals. She is Auntie Goals. Shout out to Aunt Tippy.
And shout out to my South Carolina auntie, Auntie Kathy. Shout out Auntie Kathy.
Hey, Auntie Kathy.
And of course, we could not do the show without our other fabulous co-host, Dr. Lee Bynum. Hello, Dr. Lee Bynum.
Hello. So do you want to hear something funny?
Mm.
Yesterday in the shower, it came to me the perfect tagline, not just for the show, for every time I'm introduced, if I ever end up on RuPaul and I have to enter the workroom for the first time. It was so good. I do not remember what it is.
Oh my God. After all this build-up.
I was thinking about it this morning too, and I was like, oh, I can't wait. Finally, it only took 2 full years. And then right when you were introducing Paige, I was like, I can't remember. What is it?
God.
What is it?
All right. Well, maybe it'll come back to you later in the show.
Please, if you think of it, interrupt whatever we are saying. Just be like, I got it.
Put it in the notes app of your phone or something so you always have it.
Seriously.
Well, that actually reminds me because I wanted to ask you, because I don't think we've talked about season 15 of Drag Race at all on the show yet.
God. So
like, what are your thoughts and feelings? We're down to the top 6.
This is my favorite season since season 5.
Really?
Well, first of all, Sasha Colby is a national
legend.
treasure. I was
the
saying
moment.
I mean, she really is, and like she is good enough that like the first time we met her should have been like the first time that like most of the world met Pangina. Like we don't need you on a first season because your skills are elsewhere. But I also just have to say, Anitra.
Girl.
When she somersaulted, landed in that Black Widow pose, and then immediately moved into a duck walk in the middle of hurting poor Marsha's feelings. And Marsha was doing a good job.
She did it. She held her own. She really did.
She did. But to everybody out there who is like, this should have been a double Shantae, it couldn't have been because Anitra ate.
You know, the first time I saw it, I was thinking like, oh, why isn't this a double Shantae? And then I watched it again. And then I was like, oh, okay. Because I feel like the problem with like lip sync for your lives often is that like maybe you're focusing on one person or it's very hard to take all of that visual information in. So I feel like when it's a really good one, when it's like, you know, Alyssa versus Tatiana or Brooke versus Evie. Like, I feel like you have to watch them several times
Yep.
to really just like
Yep.
soak in all of the fabulousness and goodness and athleticism that's happening. And so that's what I had to do with that one. And then I was just like, you know what, Marcia, you tried. No, but Paige, did you see it? Do you know what we're talking about?
No.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-mm.
So this one queen like went back into like a crab walk and was like crab walking down the runway, lip syncing, and the other one did a full free willy over her. Beautiful
Oh.
rainbow arc.
Yeah. Yep.
Did like a flip.
Yep.
And then like landed like Black Widow and was like, and this was all to Doja Cat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was
Wow.
extraordinary.
It was spectacular.
Yeah. It was one of the best lip syncs. It for me, it's definitely a top. It's a top 5. They were both good. The song choice was right. They both looked good, but Anitra was. It was like I just have a different skill set than a lot of you other girls out there, and I'm about to show you a very small part of it because the season isn't over yet. So yeah, I'm obsessed with season 15. Absolutely obsessed with it.
But I mean, Sasha Colby, just like give her things. Just give her her crown. Give her her.
It's literally a race to third now, in my opinion, because Sasha won it maybe 3 weeks ago. Like she just won the season, and Anitra, for me, clarified during that lip sync Lollapalooza that whoever else is out here thinking whatever they're thinking, they should be thinking different things. They should be very focused on all stars.
Yes.
Whenever they're coming back next and showing us how they've grown, because this is not your season.
I mean, and there's some other queens that are cute. Mistress is cute.
I love Mistress.
Lux is cute.
Lux is very cute. Lux reminds me of a young, nicer version of me. Yeah.
And nicer.
I was a terror 20 years ago.
Oh my God.
Damon is like, who does this remind you of? And I'm like, oh, leave me out of it.
Oh.
But yeah, I know Lux. Know her well.
Oh my. If we had known each other in college, would we have been friends? Well,
first of all, everybody loves Lee. Like I didn't make that up. That is a thing.
Okay.
But the levels of shade that I was capable of in my college years is like multiple seasons of Drag Race at once. I don't know where it came from, and it takes a lot to keep it tamped down. So.
And I was a very sensitive, sad boy.
I don't know if it would have worked out at the time.
I don't know if it would have worked out at the time. But I'm glad we both grown into who we are.
Exactly.
There's a reason y'all missed each other. You could have hated each other.
The fates knew what they were doing.
Exactly. Yep.
On that tiny campus where there were like 5 Black people, like the fact that we never even walked past each other, there must be a reason for it.
There must be.
Yeah.
I understand now.
I'm just like, I'm gonna go back to my room and listen to Fiona Apple and feel. But
he's just like, I don't know what's wrong with him, child.
He needs to get it together. But speaking of sad feelings, I think we do need to go back to not to bring the room down, but
we got to talk about it.
We do. Sunday, March 12th, there was a robbery that occurred at the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles. Los Angeles, California. The third award of the evening. We were all feeling so good in our feelings and our happiness, watching Ki Hui Kwan win that award, getting all ready to enjoy our popcorn, raise our champagne, watch the luminous, incredible, legendary Angela Bassett finally go up on stage and receive her things that she has deserved for decades and decades and decades, but that was not to be.
Yeah.
And I think I went into it after the Grammys, knowing that that was a distinct possibility. But still, I opened the floor. Yeah. I know.
Yeah, trying to find the words. Because I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once a couple of times because I really enjoyed it. Just like I watched Wakanda Forever a couple of times. And I have to say that I found it a surprising choice for many of the voters, based both on the actual performance in the movie, because I would have assumed if that was your thinking for supporting actress, you would have seen Stephanie Hsu and maybe thought, recognized, understood. But even if you're going off of the body of someone's career, because that's, I feel like that's a very legitimate way to think about the Oscars. I don't mean this to any shade to Miss Curtis. I mean, we literally share a first and middle name in like flip-flopped order. Like I just don't understand, because I saw the movie multiple times. Like I legitimately don't understand. I mean, and Angela Bassett, not only did she do the thing, but has she not given everything to a life of making movies and television and theater? And it's just astounding to me that she's been nominated for Oscars, Emmys, Grammys, and Tonys and not won any of them. Like to me, it's like people are actively playing in her face, and it feels personal, and maybe it shouldn't, but it feels very personal in a way. And the nonsense the next day when people were showing a 2-second clip of her immediate reaction and demanding to know why she wasn't performing for their comfort instead of legitimately feeling the disappointment that she was entitled to feel, also kind of furthered for me that the whole thing seemed personal or something, right? Like I'm just trying to make sense of like the thing that happened.
Because it's strange. I'm like, is it personal? Is it a personal dislike for Angela Bassett, or is it a personal favoritism or nepotism that's working on behalf of Jamie Lee Curtis? Like, I'm just trying to make it make sense.
I don't think it is, because like you look at like this year's like Academy Awards nominees luncheon class photo or whatever, and literally you have Tom Cruise and whoever else was on the other side of her, like with their arms all around Angela and like pointing and being like, oh my God, we're with Angela. I think people love Angela Bassett, which makes it all the stranger.
Can I say something that may be unpopular? And this is maybe because there just haven't been a lot of Black people who've won acting Oscars, or any Oscars for that matter. The types of roles for which Black people often win are different from what our white counterparts win, because I don't know any Black people who win for playing like kings and queens, right? And those kinds of figures. And we think about, the illustrious careers of Halle Berry and Denzel Washington, and maybe the roles that got the attention and the roles that didn't, right? And when I think about, other people who were not nominated this season, Viola, Danielle, any number of women, from Sheila, Lashana, from The Woman King, maybe America isn't ready to see us in certain kinds of roles and acknowledge a certain part of history that a lot of this country is trying to hide via what they're doing with critical race theory, right? Like I'm trying to make connections because I feel like there's a message here and I need to read the message clearly. And I guess I just don't like what I'm seeing. Yeah, I wish the audience could see the look each of us has on our face right now.
But I want to get back to the point, though, Lee, that you were making before we started recording, just about how we're supposed to behave in these situations when people are playing in our face, and we're supposed to just sit there and eat it and smile.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me, you brought up Gabby Douglas when she was displeased about, what she didn't win the gold medal, she won a silver medal or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And she was not smiling, and everybody was like, she should be happy that she won the silver medal. Or when Simone Biles was, somebody was like, why aren't you smiling? And she was like, because smiles don't win gold medals. And we're just supposed to sit there and just be like thankful for the crumbs that we get.
Right.
I guess like Angela was just supposed to be happy that she was nominated.
Yeah.
Yeah. As if she's supposed to just be happy to be in the same category with Jamie Lee Curtis, when it's like kind of the opposite way around. But I mean, they're like,
and it's not
like,
to disparage
Jamie
Lee, but
to be in the category with Angela Bassett.
Yes.
Like, and it's not, it's not to disparage her, but it is just that, like, there's also this idea that, like, oh, but it's Jamie Lee Curtis, and like her career, and like
she's Hollywood royalty.
This is her first one, and I'm like, Angela Bassett, you can say every one of those things about like
her.
The child just refuse to give Black people our things, like it doesn't make it any less true. Like the filmography, that it's there. So the material's there. Like as far back as I think of, like, her role as Tina Turner. Man,
I mean,
come on.
That movie alone.
Let's be serious.
There is a scene in Malcolm X, which is one of my two all-time favorite movies. And it's when she and Denzel are in the room and they're having this argument, and so as not to wake the kids, so like they're doing like most of the scene sotto voce, and it's this really beautiful acting scene because they're like holding the emotion right here. They're going through the whole thing, and it's not this yelling and screaming, it's this whole thing of being about to explode. And first of all, anybody who's ever argued with their spouse knows exactly what that moment is. But secondly, it was this really well calibrated, beautifully directed scene. Thank you, Spike Lee. That where were the awards for that? And as much has changed over the course of our lifetimes, we are not in a place where Black people are acknowledged in the same way for their artistic contributions, right? I mean, the three of us literally met doing jobs around supporting people of color to be able to get into roles that they rightfully deserved at a company, right? So we should not be acting like, these chances come along again. I mean, Angela Bassett has been in the game since at least 1985. This is only her second nomination. I mean, does she have another 29 years to wait before? You know what I mean? Like this, it's wild. It's kind of wild to me, and that there are other actors who have 5 and 6 nominations who do not have her body of work or her skill set is also something that, like, I don't not notice this, and I'm still mad about Album of the Year, and I'm going to be mad about it the next time we talk, just so y'all know.
That too. I have wondered. I'm like, is it one of those things of just jealousy, or being like, she's overrated? And we're just that's the obvious choice, right? So we're just gonna, what?
We're gonna go for the underdog.
I don't understand. Jackson 5, American Dream.
I was gonna say. I was about to say when she's Katherine Jackson. Yes.
Come on.
Waiting to exhale.
I don't want you. I don't want
Won't
you.
you? I don't want you. I don't want you. No.
Come on. That right there needed its own Oscar. Come on.
Waiting to exhale, just
wait.
walking away from the car.
Why are they playing with her?
I mean, she's literally been Betty Shabazz, Coretta Scott King, and Rosa Parks in different movies. She is Black history embodied, right? And she also has a bachelor's in African American Studies from Yale. I just like throwing that out there so that people also understand how completely well-rounded she is. She's not just a pretty face. She's not just good at saying other people's words. She happens to be what she is. And I guess I'd be mad about it too. I'd be mad about it too.
Yeah, but I guess we shouldn't be surprised, especially the way that they played with Chadwick and his memory a couple years ago.
I forgot that I was mad about that. Yeah.
So much to be mad about.
Yes. Well, James Baldwin already said, to be Black and aware of your surroundings is to be angry all the time, right?
Yes.
And obviously I'm paraphrasing. But, that I think that it was true when he said it, and it's not less true today, right?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
But I have good news, though.
Oh, so do I. You go first.
Well, no, what's your good news?
Oh, I was just going to say my hair looks amazing today.
No, your hair looks
I'm
fabulous.
Looking at myself right now.
Yeah, no, it looks great.
Enjoying this
very proud of
right now. Always a silver lining.
But I was going to say, good news is that we have a fabulous guest today who is, opening up doors, singing amazing roles around the world in places like the Met and La Scala and Real Teatro in Madrid and the Royal House in London. Just one of the most sought after tenors in the world. And he's Black. So that's amazing. And of course, I am talking about the world-renowned Lawrence Brownlee. We are honored to have him on the show today and to talk to him all about his incredible career, his upbringing, how he found opera, and perhaps a little spicy salsa surprise. So stay tuned and we will be right back with Lawrence Brownlee. All right, everybody, and we are back. We are so honored to have our next guest on the show. Lawrence Brownlee is a leading figure in opera, both as a singer on the world's top stages and as a voice for activism and diversity in the industry. Captivating audiences and critics around the globe, he has been hailed by the New York Times as an international star in the bel canto operatic repertory, one of the world's leading bel canto stars in The Guardian, and one of the most in-demand opera singers in the world today by NPR. This season finds him singing in some of the biggest opera houses in the world, from the Metropolitan Opera to Royal Opera House in Covent Garden to Teatro Real in Madrid. It will also see the premiere of an exciting new program titled Rising, which will feature Lawrence Brownlee and pianist Kevin J. Miller performing newly commissioned songs by an array of brilliant composers with text drawn from James Weldon Johnson and other great Black writers of the Harlem Renaissance. In spring 2021, Mr. Brownlee joined the Juilliard School as a distinguished visiting faculty member. He serves as artistic advisor for Opera Philadelphia, where his responsibilities include increasing and expanding audience diversity, advocating for new works, and liaising with the general director from the perspective of a performing artist. I think I know a little bit about some of that. And if that wasn't enough, he is a Grammy nominee and the winner of numerous awards and distinctions, including Male Singer of the Year at the International Opera Awards, the Richard Tucker Awards, the Kennedy Center's Marian Anderson Award, and the Opera News Award. welcome to the show, Lawrence Brownlee. Yay!
Yay!
Thank you.
Such an
Nice to
honor
be
to
with
have
you all.
you.
Nice to be with you all. Nice to be with you.
Yes. How are you today?
I'm good. Surviving. You just have to make sure that you keep your head on straight when you're doing a lot. And so I'm trying to do that, but I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good.
And everyone else?
No complaints so far. We're sitting here talking to you. So my first question for you, you are not only one of the most prominent Black opera singers working today, you are one of the most prominent opera singers working today. And so I kind of want to go all the way back to the very beginning. And how is it that you found opera, or how did opera find you? What's the story?
I have thought about this a lot, and of course, I've talked about it during my career. I started in church. I started singing. My father was a church choir director. I come from a Kojic church, which means Church of God in Christ, a very Pentecostal, very charismatic um, denomination, I guess you can call it, of church, and it was very active with music. We had a lot of instrumentation, a lot of instruments. In the Church of God in Christ, people say, "Get in where you fit in." So I gravitated towards the instrumental side, wanting to play the drums, wanting to play other instruments. The drums was my first love because it kept rhythm and it was loud. And so it's interesting, interestingly enough, I wasn't a fan of singing at all. I
Really?
was shy. I was shy about my singing, to be quite honest. I did not want to sing at all.
Wow.
But I remember one of the first times that I sang in church. My father used to force our family to sing. I'm one of six kids, and so I had three sisters older than me, a sister younger than me, then a brother right after her. So we're seven kids in 6 years. So we're pretty close in age.
Wow.
And my father thought he was making a little group by having all those, he and my mom making a little group by having all those kids together. But so when he would tell us, would say force us to sing, I used to have to sing, and when I would sing a few solos, I would get singled out for my voice. And people would start to respond to my voice in a positive way. The people at the church would say, "We want to hear you sing. We want to hear you sing next Sunday." And even when my pastor would say, "I want you to sing a solo next Sunday," that whole week I would have like a big knot in my stomach, be nervous about it, thinking, "Oh my gosh, I have to sing next Sunday." So I was not a fan of singing at all. I was more of an instrumentalist until I got into high school. And then I became a lot less shy about singing because at that time, I had a bunch of friends and they told me that if I sang that the girls would think I was cute. And so I was a lot more bold about singing then because I found out, "Oh, look at him, he's cute," or something like that. But yeah, so it started out of being around music in church and then school. And then when I was in high school, I had a choir teacher that specifically said the tone of my voice suited itself to classical music. And he was the one that encouraged me to give it a try, to listen to it, and to see if I liked it. And so I got a chance to understand what it was. And then that was the beginning of my journey that I thought, wow, I guess I have this unique ability to sing classical music. Let's see where it takes me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
like the Jackson 5, the Brownlee 7.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they all still sing today, and my parents still sing. My mom and my dad. My mother has a wonderful voice. My dad does too. But yeah, music just was in our bones. It was in our DNA, and so it was easy for me to. I thought I was going to be a lawyer and not a singer. But when I decided, to pursue music, it was because I thought that music could take me around the world. And so I was like, let's go, let's do it. And so music was my path.
And it certainly has. Most definitely. That's an understatement. A couple of times.
I
it's
think
taken
you were
around.
correct.
Well, it's, they say do something you love as a job and it won't seem like work. And so obviously music is my life. And of course, I love to share my talent with people. And so travel is another big thing with me. And so, yeah, it takes me around the world and I'm loving this job and my, it's a passion of mine.
I also wonder like what has changed throughout the years. Like there's so much change in the industry right now, of course.
Hmm.
But from being a youngin to now being a world-class opera star, what's inspiring you now, or worrying you as an artist? Like what's your perspective now?
Well, a lot has changed, and I've matured. It's been like close to 25
Mhm.
years that I've been doing this as a profession. And so you grow as a person, which means you grow as an artist. I think you contemplate things in a way that's different than when you were younger. Now I'm 50 years old. I'm very proud to be 50. I tell people all the time that I graduated with people who didn't make it to 50. Many people didn't. And so it's a blessing. And so, I take that attitude with what I've learned and what I've grown in to try to be a better artist, to interrogate some of the material that I perform in a different way, to have more wisdom, to have more insight. People talk about playing certain roles, when you're 21 years old, as opposed to playing it when you're 36 years old, when you live a little bit more life and
Mhm.
you've had your heart broken and you have to play this the unspoken innate nature of how you play and respond to some of these things, from a dramatic standpoint or a musical standpoint, is different. And maybe you can't put your finger on it. Maybe it's not easy to explain. But I think the seasoning, the all the nuance and all the character that I think my life has really shown me now, even as an artist, having survived, knock on wood, having survived COVID, and other things too. I think I bring a different perspective. So a lot has changed, and there's some things that worry me. Uh, you know, I guess, as an artist, people talk about the future of this business, what we do. Are people ready to come back into the theater? Do they have an
Mhm.
appreciation? Are we becoming more um, in tune or desiring of having things be served on a platter to us, meaning that we would rather watch something virtually, or other styles of music that seem to be a lot more produced and in our face rather than the accessibility of some of classical music. Those are things that worry about me. But the thing I have hope for is that, if we continue to try to do what we do in the best way, that people will still respond to it. This is an art form that has survived many, many years and is still here. It's still viable. I think it still touches people. And so I still have to evolve as an artist. And I remember having this
Mhm.
conversation with my wife. I said, look, the thing she said to me one time, she was like, "You've been so blessed in your career to now, and what keeps you going?" And I told her, I said, "It's the hope that I haven't done my best thing yet. Hopefully, there's something for me to discover, something for me to grow in, something that becomes my defining moment." And that is what keeps me on the pursuit of trying to be a better artist, to make an impact, to make my mark. And so those are the things that always kind of that I am always mulling over as an artist, and to try to also adapt. The only way to stay relevant is to reinvent yourself. So continuously reinventing myself, thinking, pondering, studying, feeling like I still have stuff to learn is what really motivates me now to continue on this path and try to be the best artist that I can be.
Yeah, that feels so important, especially in um I would say like across classical music, where we talk about, I mean, obviously we perform a lot of older work and a lot of
Hmm.
things that get repeated over and over again.
Hmm.
But having like that
Yes.
fresh perspective and like evolution, and allowing like you changing as a human being to even
Hmm.
Mhm.
inform it being different every time. You're reminding me of our conversation with Denise Graves, when she's talking about Carmen, and how alive Carmen is for her, as like a changing being character that she approaches differently every single time. So yeah.
You absolutely do. You have to feel like that person is doing something for the first time. But all that you have inside you is what informs that. It's like the thing, as I always say, that when I'm performing a role, like recently, I just returned from Covent Garden in London, and I was doing the Barber of Seville, which I've done in pretty much every major theater in the world. I've done it probably 5 different productions of it, I still have to feel like the moment I hear this woman's name for the first time or I experience something, it has to be the first time. And so, yes, I can take everything that I have inside me to play this character better, but I know what's happening. I know what the outcome is. I know what Figaro does. I know all these other things, but it is my job as an artist to try to live in that moment and what I am equipped with, the trials, the struggles, the different things that I have experienced in my life. I can draw on those things to try to play that character more authentically. So yes, I understand what Denise, who's a friend of mine, what she's talking about. She's done Carmen so many times. It's been the role that has been so important for her career, and she can take the wealth of knowledge and experiences and life situations to be a more believable character, and you understand why she continues to be cast as Carmen.
I shade of that.
I remember being introduced to your work as a graduate student and being floored. I found it really, really thrilling, and it was super exciting on a number of levels, not the least of which that as a Black tenor, I hadn't seen Us before. And, it just kind of hit me in this way that I remember thinking, I wish that I could have seen this, 10, 12 years before and just imagined myself in a different kind of a way in the performing space over the course of my coming of age. And I'm curious and I would imagine you have heard this kind of thing from many, many people before. And I'm curious if that creates an extra sense of responsibility or even extra opportunities for you as an artist, knowing that there is, this population of us that is so excited by the fact that you get to represent us at the level that you do.
Well, thank you for saying that. I think about the people that inspired me. And of course, in the last 20 years or so, we see social media being such an active part of what we know. So it's easier to go to YouTube today than it was when I was getting started more than 25 years ago. And not necessarily having so many examples of people or such a prominent, if I should say, example, someone who's doing this, if you want to say it, at the highest level. Last week, I got a chance to share the stage with George Shirley. And I remember we honored him in Houston Grand Opera. There was an event that I was a part of creating years ago. It was an idea that I came up with years ago, and it's called Giving Voice. And that's basically Houston Grand Opera has a longstanding tradition of giving African Americans opportunities to sing leading roles. And so I was thankful that they had done that. And I remember seeing the fruit or, the result of them thinking in that way. When I was doing a show there, it was such a diverse cast. And I said, this is beautiful. This is the way our art form should be. It should be inviting and inclusive. And I went to the administration and I said, as an artist, as a leading artist, I would like to be a part of this. Can we have some type of community concert where we go into the community and we present what art is and let them gravitate to this art form in their own way? And so in this concert, this is the 4th iteration we did of it last week. And so one of the things we did was honor Mr. Shirley. And so Mr. Shirley, for me, was a point of reference. It was seeing him made me believe that I could be an opera singer at a very high level. And we didn't have the social media that told us all the wonderful things he had done. And he did a lot of things, and he is the pioneer that I looked up to. Thankfully, my first agent was a student of his, so he gave me the opportunity to be closer or understand what the significance of what Mr. Shirley had done. And so I remember just being so inspired by Mr. Shirley and just believing in those times that were difficult that we can do this and we can sing at La Scala and we can sing at the Met and all these other things because someone had done it. And so me now getting the opportunity to be more visible from an Instagram tweet or a Twitter post or a Facebook post, a lot of people see me and a lot of young African American, not only tenors, but baritones, basses, sopranos even come up to me and they thank me and they tell me that I'm inspiring to them. And I think the best way to be an inspiration to them is to try to continue to do what I do, can try to do it at a high level for them to see me and think of someone who works hard at that, sacrifices, that tries to bring a sense of professionalism or excellence. And so I accept it that people do look up to me. I appreciate it, but I hope when they look at me that they realize that I'm looking at those pioneers that came before me, the Simon Estes and the Martina Arroyo, and of course Miss Price and George Shirley, and so many other people that opened the doors for me. And that's the thing that inspires me. So as they're inspired by me, I'm inspired by them. And so to continue the tradition, we have a rich, wonderful tradition in this classical business, and I just want to continue to be a good steward of my instrument, but also have a great deal of respect for the people that opened the doors for me, and just continue to do my best.
Yeah, I find it really inspiring when I see artists of your stature really just digging into the work of equity and diversity, especially given my job title and what I do for a living. I just find it really, really exciting. And so I'm curious just what your viewpoint is on sort of the last couple of years. There's been really this huge push throughout throughout the opera industry to diversify our staffs and our repertoire, our artists, and our audiences. And I'm just curious, like, what your perspective is on that work that's been happening, and what do you think that companies can do to better support artists of color and staffs of color, and to create opera companies that more accurately reflect the communities that we serve?
It is so crucial. It's so important. And I'm inspired by the work that has been done in the last few years. And, when we look at 2020, we look at 2021, we look at the events of that time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, COVID is that thing that will live on for many, many, many years, and how it affected our world and our version of the world in the time that we lived it. Um, we were all sitting at home when we got a chance to witness what happened to George Floyd. If we had not been sitting at home, if we hadn't all been grounded, essentially, and forced to be at home, we wouldn't. The impact of George Floyd's death would have never. I mean, it probably would have had some importance, but it would have been probably similar to Trayvon, or probably similar to Eric Garner, or probably similar to Sandra Bland. These things made a ripple, if you call it, sadly, because it happens so often, but it didn't make the wave per se that the George Floyd thing that became an international phenomenon. People are like, oh my gosh. I had so many people writing me from Romania and Italy and saying, oh my gosh, because we all were sitting at home. And so the realization that not only in the treatment of George Floyd by those police officers in Minnesota, but just in so many other areas of the world, people realized it. I remember people, general directors and other people in high positions, calling me, asking could they have a conversation about, oh my gosh, is this really how it is? And for me, they were so blown away by the fact that I was like, this is the norm. This is nothing different. This is something that we deal with every day. And so there was a shift, and I think there was a real authentic shift of an awareness of that we need to be in spaces. We need to have opportunities. We need to have the doors open for us by allies, by people who are not just people of color, but people who want to see, who really say they fight for equity, for them to put their money where their mouth is, for them to open the doors and give the opportunities that are necessary, or people are worthy of those opportunities. And so in that sense, I think I've seen a lot of people wanting to do that in companies like these various companies that I've been involved with, creating the space for us. And so for a long time, even when I was an undergrad, when I was in graduate school, all throughout, you know, I was in student government and I was in different things. And even like back in the day, like my fraternity, I was doing some initiatives with them about just like inclusion and equity and importance of us being in certain spaces. So it is just ingrained in me. And so working with, for example, Opera Philadelphia now, part of my job, the expansion of different things, I constantly go to them and say to them, like, okay, what are we going to do? Where are the opportunities? We need to have a more diverse looking season. Why is the season 89% white and 2% black when you have tons of artists there, and why it's at every different level it needs to be someone of color, not only in the wait staff or the ushers, but you need to have people in administration and people in development and people in other things, and be intentional in it. So maybe you have to go and do some, I don't want to say affirmative action, but you need to make sure that we're giving people the opportunities for advancement in these spaces. So it is a part of my continuous work. It's a part of my passion. It is something that I am used to, and having done it in so many different spaces, as I said, in undergrad and grad school, and being a leader and seeing my parents do some of this type of work is something that's natural for me. I consider it a responsibility, but one that does not weigh me down. It is something that I feel like I am equipped to do. And so I want to try to use all the things that I can, because of the cachet and the credibility that I have, to be able to open people's ears and let them believe in what can happen, because they can bank on the things that I've done before in the past. So that's how I try to lead. And I always embrace it as an opportunity for me to make a change that is meaningful.
Wow. One follow-up though. Sometimes I find, because it's not a linear path. Sometimes it feels like it is 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. So how do you keep from letting it weigh you down? What keeps you optimistic?
Well, I think the thing that keeps me optimistic is that progress is made. I feel like because of a lot of these people who are leaders in some of these institutions, black or white, now they're colleagues of mine. They're people in the same age bracket, and so I feel like I have a certain sense of accessibility to these people, that I can say, look, I knew you when you couldn't put 2 dimes together to buy a cheese, a cheese it, or I'm just saying, I knew you when. So when we had that relationship before, now that you're in a position where you can make a change, I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. And so I feel like the relationships that I build with people, there's a sense of trust. For example, Ryan Taylor is one of my long time friends, and he's a general director at Minnesota Opera. And so he and I can talk in a way, because we've known each other since our young artist days, since we were doing competitions together. And so when you have those people that you have long careers with, there is a sense of trust. There's a sense of being comfortable with them, and knowing their intentions, and working in a way that is productive, so you can make things happen. So what keeps me going is that even if I hit a door that's closed, I can probably navigate, shift, and go through another door. And there's a way to make the things happen. Do we make the progress at every level the way we want to? Not always. And it seems like you have to knock on about 5 doors that it should take one. It should only take one door to knock on. But I am hopeful. I continue to hope. I'm an optimistic person in nature. Is that if those first 4 doors are not open, that fifth door will open. If it doesn't, the 6th one will. And so, as exhausting as it can be, when I think the payoff is when it happens, and you feel like, okay, there's more to be done. And so I don't feel like we're done making progress. And I just continue to believe that we just keep working until we stop. And so I don't get tired by it. And I just look at every day I wake up as another opportunity. Sometimes you make this much progress, and sometimes you make a whole heck of a lot of progress in a short period of time. And so you just have to take that as it comes to you and continue to move forward.
It's good advice.
Really good advice. I also think about how, artists often have other interests, passions that maybe aren't in the forefront that also, feed us, that energize us. And, one of your friends may put a little bug in our ear about salsa, maybe some DJing, something like that. So I'm curious about whatever else you'd like to share about your other interest or the
Oh my
salsa
gosh.
business. Yeah.
So I'll just start with salsa. Salsa is a great passion of mine. It has been one of the keys that has unlocked the world to me, I have to say. I started salsa dancing in 2000, I believe it was. So that was about 23 years ago, 22 or 23 years ago, when I was in the Young Artist program in Seattle Opera. And honestly, I'll be honest, the reason I went the first time is because I thought this one girl was cute. And she is the one who said we should she said we should go salsa dancing. But I have to say, and I give her credit, we always talk about it, she's a good friend of mine now. As I said, because of you, salsa has changed my life. But I went with her to this place called China Harbor in Seattle. And I remember just being absolutely mesmerized by the dance of salsa. And I just thought, okay, this is not going anywhere with this girl. We're just friends, and that's fine. That was a decision, mutual decision. She's cute, but no, nothing's happening there. But the dance, oh my gosh, where has this been my whole life? And so I started in. I remember I went to this place, China Harbor, and I was like, okay, who teaches this stuff? And there was a teacher, a group, a couple there that said that they give lessons. So before the next lesson, which was Tuesday, they said if you want to maybe go listen, go buy a CD or something like that just to get the sound of the music, do that. So I went to this one place and I bought shoes and CDs and music and everything else, and I was ready. And from that moment to probably now, I have just been crazy about salsa. But it has been the thing that, again, as I said, unlocked the world where I have so many friends around the globe. And just recently, I was in London. I had a few days off. I went to Slovenia and it was a salsa congress. It was like a 3-day festival where you dance from sun up to sundown, essentially. And so I remember going there after the pandemic, and I saw at least 100 friends of mine from salsa around the world, people from London and Paris and Milan and New York City and just Bratislava and Hungary, people from all over the place who love this dance. So salsa has been just a great opportunity to see the world and experience friendships, grown friendships because of our shared love for this art form. And so yeah, it's one of the things that I love. So that's a big, big, big hobby of mine. But I have too many hobbies, and my personality is I'm like either hot or cold about it. So in no particular order, I am salsa is big, but I'm also very big into tennis, playing tennis, uh, ping pong, some people call it, but I call it table tennis. Uh, Photography is a huge passion of mine,
Oh,
and I
cool.
usually travel with a large suitcase that is dedicated for all my lenses and my camera bodies. I have more than one usually that I travel with. So those are the big ones. But I love the idea of, even if I'm a professional opera singer, being a student at something. And I don't have an
Mhm.
issue with being at the very basic level, learning and, feeling like I have to be disciplined in order just to get to a certain level. So I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly growing, and taking on something new from the beginning doesn't scare me. I don't mind being a rookie or just very green at something because it'll put me on the path to learning. And I think that actually kind of spills over into my what I do. And it gives me a great deal of respect for the things I've done already, but it keeps me on the path to even, as people pursue what I do, or a certain level of what I do as an artist. I think there's interplay in that, and it keeps all of us learning and growing.
Yeah, exactly. Always growing and learning. I
I
love it. I
wish.
think also I love that shout out to like also skills and things that you don't have to monetize. 'Cause I feel like in this day and age it's like
Right. I don't have to pay my
yes.
rent. I don't have to pay my rent. And that's the thing too. Like for example, photography. I've always said that I have the equipment and not the skill. But it's one of those things. And if my wife sees this, she's gonna laugh because I always feel like I have to have the best of something. And she's like, "You're a beginner in photography." I'm like, "Yes, but I need the top camera from Sony. I just need it for whatever reason." But I love the fact that several of my colleagues use my photos as their headshots. And so that, I'm not a professional, but I want to work and to gain the knowledge that I can have a nice output. But again, as you said, don't have to monetize it. I don't have to pay my rent with trying to be a photographer. I have a great deal of
Right.
respect for professional photographers. I'm
Takes the
not one.
pressure off.
I just wish everybody could see in the audience the way your face lit up when she said salsa.
I might go salsa dancing tonight, so that's
Okay.
probably why.
Yes.
Yes. Swivel them hips.
Well, I know that we are sort of getting to the end of the time we have with you, and I wanted to know if you had any perspectives or things that you may want to share with some of our colleagues who sit in administrative positions at opera companies and other presenting bodies in classical music. Things that maybe they want to know, things that they might want to consider, words of wisdom for our listeners out there?
Yeah, as I said before, now there's a shift that's happening with many of my colleagues who are taking on positions in various places, and many are desiring to do more. They're looking to be artistic directors. They're looking to be deans of colleges, and there's a group already of people doing that. But I think that there's a number of people who want to push that even further, and I feel like that the tools that we have, the skills that we have, the history that we have, the knowledge of things is the things that we should really try to go forward and to obtain these positions in these jobs. A young gentleman wrote me the other day, and he was like, "I really want to be a stage director, and I feel like I have something to say, and I feel like finally my voice is going to be respected." And when you see some of the stories that are being told around the world, I think there is hopefully space and agency for us to be able to tell certain stories. And so I'm encouraging people to go out there and to be confident in what you know and your knowledge of this and the history of opera and performance. And I have some friends that they could tell you every performance that Price did. And they can tell, those things are as valuable in the history, and some of the performance traditions are as valuable as some of the other things that other people have that are getting them in these spaces. And for them to realize they have more sometimes than some of these people that are already in these spaces. And so, myself as a colleague, or if you want to say a mentor, I'm very encouraging of them, but I'm trying to do all I can as well to be a conduit or to be someone that helps them to achieve these positions because other people have done that in the past. And so, being an ally, being a supporter, being a promoter, even with this project that I'm doing now, this Rising, that is the music of the writers of the Harlem Renaissance. What I wanted to do is give voice to some of these young African American composers, and to take the music of African Americans to help to give them sometimes, not that it's not all about me, but sometimes the spotlight that I have, allows other people to come into that and to be seen in a way that maybe they wouldn't be. But as someone who is a frequent recitalist, I think people know that I am doing a lot of stuff in this discipline. I think them adding to the canon of art song and this being more highly visible because people who are not necessarily African American will see this. And for them to know, these people who are not African American, that this is music for you to also perform. And there's other things out there that these composers, these young gifted composers that you don't know of or you didn't know of, now you will, because people like myself, people like Russell Thomas, people like Will Liverman, people like some of these other people are constantly programming these composers, but also this music and this material, that it will become much more mainstream. And so it is about us working together collectively for that push to happen, for that expansion, that growth, that visibility, I think is important. And so that's what I want to continue to do. And so sometimes, it makes an impact just you doing what you're supposed to do. And so as long as I have the platform to be visible and to for people to follow my tweets and my Instagram postings and to be able to understand about various things I'm doing, I hope that this will push forward and then provide opportunities for people in these spaces, in administration, also in performing, in leading, and that when we get there and get the opportunities, people will understand and know that we will do good work and we will do meaningful stuff for this art form.
Thank you for using your platform like that. I think it matters a lot, that bit of exposure, and also having it come from certain people really does mean it carries a different kind of a weight at times. So thank you for that.
And I was so excited when I was reading about Rising, using texts from the Harlem Renaissance. It reminded me of our conversation with Ade Williams a couple of months ago, who hosts the Harlem Connection. And just like, yeah, we are a part of this history. We are a part of this legacy. We've always been here and we're always going to be here. And it's so exciting. So can you talk a little bit more about that project and who is involved and what some of the inspiration behind the music was?
Yeah, so the inspiration behind the music was it was basically some of these people that I had worked with before, and having heard their work and feeling that they had their own voice as far as like what they should put out there. I listen to some of these other composers that are not African American, and I see what their output is. And with no disrespect to them, it's fine. And there's some really wonderful things. But I hear some of these young African American composers, I'm like, that's special. This needs to have the space. And unless we sometimes, artists, at a certain level, do it, open the doors for them, the door won't be open. And so when you think about the writings of so many people, Langston Hughes, W.E. Du Bois, Weldon, Zornil Hurston, excuse me, Zornil
Thurston.
Hurston, I think it's Hurston. Yeah, you got it right. I was like, why did I say Thurston? But I mean, there's so many other people, James Weldon, and gosh, I could just tell you, there's so many voices that are really uh, have they can explain and talk about our existence in this country and the struggles, but also our triumphs, and they can put their finger on the pulse. And some people who are not African American won't even realize that what they're reading is actually writings from the Harlem Renaissance, and something that has become a soundbite or something. If somebody hears "Still I Rise," some people may say, "Okay, that seems like that's motivational, but that is Maya Angelou, isn't it?" That's like some of these things that that are ingrained to the story of America, not just African American, the story of America, which is we are at African Americans are at the center of that. Uh, that is the thing I wanted to give agency to and give an opportunity to be even more a part of the discussion when we talk about just even programming art song recitals. And so, yes, I wanted to do this. I wanted to take these people that I admire and that I'm inspired by. And I remember reading a book called The Choice of Weapons years ago when I was 12 years old, and reading stuff by Langston Hughes and reading stuff by oh gosh, there's so many other people that that you grow up on, and how this inspired you. Somebody else is going to listen to this and be inspired. And so I think that's the reason why I wanted to do this project. And so um, I was inspired by some of my other friends who are creating projects to do the same thing in my own unique way. And so that's how this whole evolution of Rising came. But the new compositions coupled with things by Margaret Bonds. She's a part of Rising. Robert Owens is another one who this music was produced before I recorded it recently, but this is music that I listened to and was inspired by as well. So it all came together to be a very meaningful and special project that I'm excited to take to all these various cities, 9 cities right now, and about 10 cities next year. That I'm hoping to take it to, and so this will give it an opportunity to put this front and central in front of a lot of people, and so I'm excited about that.
That's wonderful. I cannot wait. So where can people find out more about Rising and more about what's happening with Lawrence Brownlee?
So
and what's coming up?
So yeah, well, I mean, the Rising tour is starting actually in 2 days,
Oh my God.
and
Okay.
so in 2 days in Boston. So we'll hit Boston and Atlanta, New York, Carnegie Hall, Philadelphia, where else? Washington, D.C. is 9 cities total. So we're getting a chance to take this all over. Kevin Miller is my good friend, and he will be at the piano, and he's been a part of it since the beginning. But the composers are Joel Thompson, wonderful young composer, Joel Thompson, Damian Sneed, Jamin Barnes, Brandon Spencer, Carlos Simon, and oh gosh, who's the other one? Sean O'Peplo. And it's just wonderful, thoughtful composers who have something to say. So I'm excited to put their music in front of people. And so people can, like I said, I'm pretty active in social media and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. I guess if people still use Facebook.
Not me.
And and I stay pretty active. I do it in my own way. I'm very silly. I like to have fun on social media, so I like to make fun. But I mean, people tell me always that they want to stay abreast, to what I'm doing, and so I'll have the information out. So if you look for Lawrence Brownlee on any of those platforms, I think Brownlee Tenor, I think it is where the information is either there or on my website, which is I think lawrencebrownlee.com. So I'll be engaged.
Nice. Well, all of those links also will be in the show notes, so everybody can find those links there. Lawrence Brownlee, thank you so much for being on our show. This was an honor.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. It's been nice. Been very comfortable, like chatting around, like you said, around the table with something brown, right? Some more potent, some things more potent than others.
Well, I'm glad. That's all we want. We want a comfortable, good time, and good luck with everything, and have fun at the salsa club tonight.
I will.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.
And we are back. We just want to thank the fabulous Lawrence Brownlee once again for joining us. And I hope he had fun swinging his hips down at the club. But this brings us to our favorite segment of the show. Are you ready, Paige?
Ready.
And a 1 and a 2 and a 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly with a baseball bat. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly. Peanut butter jelly.
Ooh. Okay. Ooh, it's the sensuality for me.
the quiet storm tagline.
Yes, it's giving Felicia Ledesma. All right, everybody, that is correct. It is time for Pure Black Joy. This is the segment where we talk about all of the Black people, places, things, ideas that are bringing us joy this week. So who would like to go first? I can go first.
I was actually going to say you should go first, because
Okay.
I feel like you never
Go
go
ahead.
first.
Well, thank you for noticing. No, just like, okay. So everybody knows my hometown is Washington, D.C. So mine is very D.C. focused. But I just thought it was really cool that on Friday, March 10th, for the very first time, a White House press briefing was presided over by 3 Black women. Of course, we
What?
have, I know, right?
Hey.
So, of course, we have Karine Jean-Pierre, who is the White House press secretary. But we also had the director of the Office of Management and Budget, Shalonda Young, and the chair of the White House Council of Economic Advisors, Cecilia Rouse. And they are all the first Black women to occupy their positions. And they were there to present the president's new budget, which included tax increases for the rich, increased spending on fighting climate change and healthcare, and the military, which 3 out of 4. But I just I just think it is kind of amazing. Obviously, you know, with our Republican friends in the House of Representatives, this particular version of this budget will likely not pass as is. But it's just amazing to have 3 Black women in these positions working on these issues for the American people and sitting there in the White House press room, like presenting this budget, answering these questions. It's amazing, you know, and I just think about, like, you know, being a little kid, and I remember one time my dad, you know, was testifying in front of a House committee, and
Interesting.
well, you know, grew up in Washington. My dad worked on the Hill. It happened from time to time, but that was that moment that I was just like, oh, okay, cool. I guess we can do that. That's interesting. But like, you know, to be able to watch these 3 women who are just at the top of their game, so smart, so just amazing and accomplished, up there like getting their flowers and running the country. I'm just like, yes, work. We need more.
Running the country.
More. More of that, please. So that's my pure Black joy.
I love it.
Love it. I'm happy to share mine. More Black lady excellence happening over at Netflix this time, from the team of this series I watched called African Queens. Y'all, it is fire. First of all, I love the concept. African Queens like covers real life like African queens, whose, you know, stories have not been uplifted as much as they should in our history classes and textbooks and whatnot. So I know one of the producers is Jada Pinkett Smith. Shout out to her. In this first series or first season that I watched focuses on Queen Njinga of Ndombo and Matamba. So from the Angola region. Y'all, it is so badass. It's so good. I mean, her story, I've heard of Njinga before as, like, you know, a fierce warrior queen and one who resisted enslavement by the Portuguese as well. But just to hear the breadth of her story, and they like prioritize like having Black women historians talking about her as well. They also talk about, they have someone on there who's speaking who knows Njinga's history and is a modern day like woman ruler in Africa. I forget where she's from. I wish I could remember, but it just that they also, you know, they focus on hearing her story from us as well. It's just incredible. The reenactments are incredible. The actors are good. The costumes are so good. Just they focus on like showing that these are like were modern civilizations, you know, that we had like any other place in the world at that time that were, you know, purposely destroyed by enslavement. And you know, also, you know, challenging narratives that say that we didn't fight back or that, you know, people on the continent didn't fight back. It shows these people going hard, trying to keep their people from being sold away, making really tough decisions at times about who to ally with, who not to ally with, and, you know, what you do to try to hold on to as many of your people as possible. It's It's incredible. It's so well done. It's so well thought out and nuanced. And I was tired the day I went in to watch it. I was in Atlanta. I had been in ritual all day with my spiritual house. I was glued to the TV. I binge watched it. I almost watched the whole series. I couldn't
How many
stop.
episodes are there?
4 episodes.
Okay.
4 episodes. Yeah, I think they're about an hour each or something. I was up till like 2 a.m. child until I finally was just like, okay, I can't, but this is so good. I don't want to take my eyes off. So yeah, African Queens in Jinga. So good. Shout out
I'm
to
gonna write
Brownlee.
that down because you know I love a little piece of nonfiction. So
It's right up there.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, I hope to see future seasons, many future seasons.
I do too, because I feel like shows like this are literally important, right? Like this is how kids learn to locate themselves outside of a dominant narrative that it's not the one that any of us should be subscribing to, right? So I'm super glad you told me that. Yeah, I'm gonna make the kids watch it. Kids being me and Damien.
Yes, watch it, talk about it.
And McGonagall.
And McGonagall.
Watch it, talk about it, because I don't want them to pull a Lovecraft Country on it. So, you know.
I forgot I was mad about that. Yes.
Oh my goodness gracious. I'm gonna call this the mad episode.
Well, speaking of Black queens, I have one about one of my favorite public figures in the last couple of years, Queen Z, Zaya Wade, to her friends and the rest of the world, the daughter of Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union. She is on her first magazine cover this month, Dazed magazine, talking about fashion, family, how to set boundaries, and also high school, because that is what we do when we're 15. And I think it is such a huge win for representation. I think it is such a huge win for queer kids everywhere, specifically queer and trans Black kids. And I know that if, you know, this had come out 30 years ago, it would have meant the world to me to feel like that we were being seen. And I think, you know, you don't have to go very far to hear about all of the nonsense happening in a lot of state houses right now, where people are acting as if they can legislate us away. And I just love the fact that she's out there, that she is who she is, that she is as supported as she is by Dwayne and Gabrielle. And it means a lot to have her here. So I'm going to buy several copies, physical copies of a magazine, a thing that I don't know that I've done. I don't even remember the last time like I had my hands on an actual magazine, but I feel like this is worth, you know, like watching African Queens, like keep the numbers up to let them know that like this matters, we care, and we come out to support stuff like this.
Absolutely. Let me go buy 5 all the copies that are on the shelf.
Yeah, literally.
Let me just go do that. Yep.
Wait, just so everybody knows, what's the name of the magazine again?
Dazed, D-A-Z-E-D.
Yeah. Okay, everybody go get Dazed magazine, and shout out to Zaya Wade, because that is
just go pick up a stack and pass them out. How about that? Just to like just give one to your friends, give one to your mama, leave one at your neighbor's door. You know. Let's just do that.
Well, shout out to all of those wonderful people. Thank you for keeping our spirits up during this mad week.
Ain't that the truth?
Oh my goodness gracious. So I think that's going to be it for us today. Just want to once again thank Lawrence Brownlee for being with us, and of course thank all of you for listening, and thank my wonderful co-host for being with me as always.
Oh, thank you.
So you can help us out greatly by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, or leaving us 5 stars on Spotify, or anywhere you can leave reviews. It really helps get the word out about our show. And don't you want us to be successful?
Fair question. Very
It's
fair
a fair question. It's a fair question. But yes, please do that. Subscribe wherever you listen to fine podcasts, and tell your friends all about us because we're fun. Any words of wisdom before we go?
Hmm. Mhm.
I think I just kind of want to reiterate what we said last week, because this effery is still happening in the state houses, and just send
Yes.
some love and support out to our trans and non-binary siblings,
Yeah.
and that we love you, and I'm so sorry that this is happening to you, and just please, everybody, do what you can. Write to your representative, tell them that this is nonsense and that they have actual things that need their attention. Trains are derailing every 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
People are dying by the thousands from COVID still every day. There are actual pressing concerns that are not people who want to not to live their lives on the gender binary, living their lives normally and in peace.
Yeah.
So
Stop worrying about what's in other people's underpants.
yes, 100%.
Yeah.
It is not your it's not your business. It's not your business. Okay, so that's all I got. That's all I got. All right, well, we will be back in 2 weeks with the incredible maestro William Henry Curry will be on the show. A legendary figure in the world of classical music, and we are so happy to have him on the show. Iconic. And if you don't know him, you will after next week's show. And I think that's it. All right, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.